Hi, I'm Mitch Shoemaker, and today is day 13 of my doing 100 days of YouTube videos and focusing on my writing. So, yay for day 13. 87 days to go. I was going to say 97. I'm like, that's not right. 87. As promised, I did buy journals yesterday. I don't know if you can see this, but this one looks really cool because it says, "Today is the day." I don't know, today is the day 4, but I like it. That's the one that I started last night. So, yay for new journals. But I couldn't help myself. I had to get a second one. This one says "Stay Wild," which is really cool. Except that I'm not really sure how to write in this one because it does like the whole flipping upwards thing like this. So, like, do I have to just keep flipping it back and forth to write in it, or do I just write all one way and then flip it over and write all the other way? I'm undecided, so I figure I will figure that out when I get to my next journal, which I will probably get to this journal before the end of my 100 days. Because if I write every single day in my journal, which I'm doing, it will fill up very quickly because they always do. Anyway, just wanted to share that I got my journals, show you what they were, because I'm excited about that. I did not do much in the way of writing today, but I did learn a few things, had a few random ideas, thoughts, whatever. One of them is probably part of my reasons I don't go to bed at night is because I just feel like I haven't finished everything on my to-do list, or because I'm dreading waking up in the morning because of all the things I have to do on my to-do list today. And I had this thought this morning that instead of dreading getting out of bed and my list of things to do, I should look forward to my day. I should be grateful that I have a new day, to new adventures, new things to learn, new things to discover, change my perspective as to what my day holds instead of it being a list of things that make me feel overwhelmed. It should be a list of things that I look forward to, that I'm excited about, and ready and willing to do. And writing should be one of those things that I am ready and willing to do. Sadly, it is not always, because it also means that I am avoiding something, usually something I don't want to feel, something I don't want to change. And in this case, my book, The Fall of Espinglandia, I'm going back and forth with some ideas on it, teetering on the idea of making it all from one character's perspective, which means cutting out more of the story and creating more brand new story because there's not enough of the story for just that one character. But I did post kind of a blurb, what I considered a blurb. I just kind of copied a section of the book, which I thought would be really cool, but it was a scene out of the book. And some people, I posted on my American Night Writers website to get some ideas from other writers. And they're like, this is like a scene out of the book. I'm like, you need to shorten it. You need to do this. You need to do that. And so, but I was actually very grateful that I was looking at Facebook and that I actually saw that on their little Facebook group, the comments, because people actually responded to my comments. And I was like, okay, ideas on how to make my blurb better, on how to make my book better. And I was really grateful that I could be excited for the insight and the help, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm making this up as I go, which is the joy of being a writer. You just get to make stuff up. The only question is what I'm making up something that other people want to read? Do other people understand what I'm writing? It's a communication thing here. So it was good to get some feedback, to get a link to something about blurbs. So tonight, instead of working on my book, I worked on blurbs for the back of my books. I did one for Illinois and the Teachers of Powers. I did one before, but it was a much longer one and nobody really commented on it. I got a few likes or whatever. I was like, well, that wasn't helpful. But based on the information I got for The Fall of Espinglandia, I rewrote it. And I kind of started to write it from one character's point of view, because apparently that was the character's point of view I did on that. And some people were like, oh, this sounds like it'll be an interesting book. Shrink this, do this, looking forward to reading that book. So I was like, okay. So it was a nice scene. It was a scene that caught people's attention, but it was too long. It was in the middle of something in the book, so it wasn't something they understood entirely. So I shrunk it quite a bit. Mostly just kind of did a little, I guess, a blurb, that's what you call it, explanation of the book without actually being from any particular character's points of view. And I ended up doing it kind of introducing the struggle between the two brothers and with the Teachers of Powers, because that's kind of how the book is set up. Although I didn't do it from the one brother's point of view, his perspective, which I could. But again, I had some people tell me they don't like to read stuff from the antagonist's point of view, the bad guy's point of view, whatever point of view. So I chose not to write it from that point of view, but I could write it from that point of view. I also could do another book after The Fall of Espinglandia from both brothers' points of views. Well, one from each brother's point of view. So that's another debate. But again, people don't seem to think, well, not people. I had a couple of people that I talked to, but I know that there's authors that do write from the bad character's point of view and just show that he's not necessarily the bad guy. He just thinks that he's entitled to stuff and he doesn't understand why he's not getting it and why anybody would not appreciate what he's doing, because he's doing what he thinks is absolutely best, which is very controlling and not really good for everybody else. But what he thinks is really good. Anyway, spoiler alerts for my book for anybody that's going to read them. Haven't really entirely decided. And like I said, I'm not writing it from his point of view. But I guess I was having that internal debate in my mind as to, do I scrap the whole book and just do the one character's point of view? Do I add the brother's point of view? I don't know. And then I think in the end, I'm just going to end up rewriting it the way that I'm doing it, from the three people's points of view, send it out to some beta readers, see if there's information from there, and go from there. And I did go to my parents for dinner tonight, and I was asking her if she'd read it. She's like, oh, it's a really interesting story. She's like, but it's missing details. It doesn't really describe the place where they're at, or the kingdom, or the, whatever, where they're at. And I was like, that is probably the most common response I'm getting from my book, Illinois and the Teachers of Powers, is there's not enough details in it. And it's funny because I was reading my friend's book, which I spent a few extra hours today and finished reading her book because it was interesting and I just wanted to finish it. So I finished beta reading her book tonight. Good book. You should read it if she ever publishes it. I don't know what it's entitled, so I can't tell you, and I would probably have to get her permission to share it on my YouTube videos anyway. But I thought it was a good book. But she put a lot of details in it. And in the beginning of the book, I think the details were a little bit too much because it was kind of hard to figure out who the characters were. But maybe that was just my opinion. But as I got further into it, the details actually added to the story, and it was a good thing. It helped with the description. I was like, wow, this is really a good story. So apparently all the details that I put in my book originally that I've been trying to take out are actually very good and would be better for the reader. So I need to maybe not take out as much detail and put more of that detail and description back into my books, and fill that in between the conversations to have that added detail. I'm just struggling with the whole, I guess I'm struggling because when I do the detail, when I feel like putting the detail in, I feel like I become the narrator instead of one of the characters. And so I feel like it changes my writing style to some degree, to some aspect, because it's not from the character's point of view that this is what they're seeing. This from my narrative point of view that this is what the surroundings are, and then back to the character. So I kind of feel like, and maybe that was my issue with my friend's book, is that when the beginning of the book, it was more the narrator perspective instead of the character perspective, whereas later in the book, it didn't feel like it was distracting from the story. It didn't feel like it was going back and forth. It just felt like it was all just the character's point of view, description things, I guess. I don't know. So I need to figure out the balance. I need to figure out how to have my characters look around and see stuff, describe stuff, do things. And I think Lenoya does that at least later in the book, but I guess she doesn't do very much of that in the beginning of the book. So I need to add a few more things to make that a little bit more descriptive. I mean, it does kind of have a good hook to draw people into it. It just doesn't, the beginning of the book doesn't really say, hey, this is my made-up kingdom. This is a world that doesn't exist outside of my mind or outside of this book, really. It's not anywhere that someone can just go to, except in your imagination. So it doesn't really clarify that in the beginning. So it kind of has a mix of things and ideas, I guess. So I need to clarify that it's a made-up world or a made-up kingdom or a made-up city. I did get some suggestions at my last book club meeting where they just said that I should maybe in the first sentence mention something like that, or in her alley, in this city, in this kingdom. So it kind of has some reference to a different kingdom, a different place. And then as you read, add a few more little details describing where it's at, what's going on, the city, the blur, the locations, things like that. So maybe I can try to figure out how to add a few more details. I did send a message to one of my friends that I sent the book to that read it in the very beginning several months ago, and then said she was just going to do some minor, she read it first, and then she was going to go back through and just make some adjustments and comments, and then send the comments and adjustments to me. And I was like, perfect. Still hasn't happened. So I messaged her like a month ago when she was going to do it. And I messaged her tonight and I was like, hey, what's going on with this? And she sent me a message back saying she totally forgot. She was so sorry and she was going to work on it today. We'll see. Not counting on that. But my friend that I just beta read for, she's been posting comments. So I think she's been making comments on my book, and I have someone else's comments on my book. So I think this week I will try to figure out how to finish The Fall of Espinglandia. I may not finish it this week. That's beyond, not necessarily beyond my capabilities, but I mean, try to figure out how to organize it, figure out where my next chapters are going with my characters, and try to see if I can't finish it. And then when I'm finished with the book, I may go back through and decide if I can change, just take out a couple of chapters that aren't from the one brother's point of view and change the other chapters to his point of view. And then it would all be his point of view. And maybe that would get rid of some of the confusion and the frustration and just totally get rid of my first chapter that apparently confuses everybody that reads my book. And I just can't seem to get past that stupid chapter because it drives me crazy. So maybe I could skip that, or maybe I could put that later or something. Because mostly I think it's confusing because there's just too many characters in my book. And I can't take that many characters out of my book. They're all part of my story, and it works for the whole story. So I need all of them in there. But they don't have to be the main character. And my sister, when she read it, she said she just took those like 14 characters and decided they were all one character. And once she decided they were all one character, she was able to read the whole book because it's like, it's all the same character. Because they're all acting under the same, I guess, pretense, the same goal. They all have the same motivation. So even though they're different people, they all have the same motivation. So to her, it was easier to just see them as all one character to read the book. So writing it from one of those characters' points of view is fine because that's kind of, it's still all the same purpose, the same goal that all of the teachers have for the book. But again, I'm still learning because I'm like, I can't get rid of the characters, but it just doesn't have to be from their point of view. But when it's not from their point of view, or there's too many of them, which is why I wrote Lanoya and the Teachers of Powers, was to introduce all the Teachers of Powers. And that's the other thing I need to remember is that I wrote Lanoya and the Teachers of Powers to introduce all the characters that are in The Fall of Espinglandia. So if you don't read Lanoya and the Teachers of Powers, I would like it to be so people can read The Fall of Espinglandia without being totally lost. But in order to get to know all of those characters a little bit better, they have to read Lanoya and the Teachers of Powers because I can't spend the time in The Fall of Espinglandia to explain all of those teachers and their purpose in the kingdom and everything that's going on. It's just too much. And I'm not going to go back and write a book for every single one of them because, wow. Okay, that's just, I need to not be overwhelmed with my writing. And I already have a gazillion stories that I have not written. And maybe it's not a gazillion, but I probably have at least 15 or 20 stories that I have not written that are going to turn into different books, at least 15 to 20 books in this series. And I probably have that many in another series that I haven't started. I was not sure I started. I just didn't get through the first chapter. I haven't decided if I'm going to write that one or not. I probably need to. I just haven't got around to it yet. But I am grateful for the comments and the responses that I get back from people, which to me is a really good thing. It's a nice change for me because I know when I first started writing, I was afraid to share it, or I tried to just change everything to what everyone was telling me, and I wasn't fully understanding what they were telling me. I wasn't taking writing classes. I didn't know what I was doing. And I finally just said, screw it, I'm just going to write the book for me. And I did. I wrote it for me. And I understand it completely. Now that I can go back and read it, I'm like, I still like some of the things that I wrote. I feel like I have a talent for writing, which is a good thing. But I need to tweak my talent. I need to hone my talent. I need to develop my talent so that other people can understand what I'm reading, so that I can write in such a way that it makes sense to other people and not just to me. And I'm learning how to do that, but in order to do that, I have to get feedback. And I've always been afraid of like criticism. I've always been the negative, I think, has always taken over, where I'm just not good enough and I shut down and I just can't do it. Or I try to change everything completely and I don't take into consideration that it might just be one person's opinion and not everybody feels that way, or that I don't have to change everything. I just have to change maybe one thing or tweak something, and it's not that big of a deal. So it makes me really grateful that I did my 100 Days of Gratitude, that it helped to build up a lot of confidence in myself. and that I can actually be grateful for the comments that people gave me on my blurb, because now I have a better idea as to what to do for my blurb for the back of my book. And I was like, yay, because I had no idea what I was doing. I was just making it up. And which is cool. I like being able to make stuff up. And it's crazy that I can make stuff up and people believe me. And I'm like, yeah, I just made that up because I have no idea. It just sounded good, right? I always clarify that because I don't want people thinking that I'm lying to them or something. And they're like, oh yeah, but that does sound good. And I'm like, it does, right? Um, so apparently people just believe me. I have an honest face and honest whatever. But I try to be an honest person. I don't go around like making up lies to people. I just kind of, if something doesn't make sense, I say what makes sense to me. And it may not be right. It may not be true. It's just what makes sense to me. So unless someone can point out something else that makes sense or show me the difference, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stick with what I know or what I make up. And as a writer, I like being able to just make up stuff. I can make up what my characters do, what their world is, what their responses are. I have total control over that. I don't ever have any control over how other people perceive my writing or whether people like my genre or type of writing. And some people will and some people won't. So I know that. But I also know that I need some kind of feedback, some helpful, positive criticism, or feedback. I'm going to go with feedback versus criticism to help me know what to improve, what areas I can work on, and suggestions. I like suggestions is a better word than criticisms too. I think it's interesting to me that just the use of words, just changing the word or the meaning of the word, helps to make it, to soften the blow, to make it easier to accept things. Because if it's a suggestion, I'm like, okay, it's a suggestion. Someone's making a suggestion. I can look at it and say, oh, that makes total sense. I'm going to go with what you're saying. Or I could be like, that's really nice, but I just don't like that. But thank you for the suggestion. And I don't feel like a horrible person for saying no, thank you, because I didn't appreciate or because our suggestion just doesn't sit with me. I'm like, I need something different, or that just doesn't work for me. And that's okay. Versus criticism, which to me, criticism means that something's wrong with me, that I didn't do it right, or what I did was wrong, it's bad, it's not good enough. It triggers all of those negative connotations. So I like being able to use other words like feedback and suggestions, new ideas to how to change things, because I don't know, but I like the ideas, I like the suggestions, and I like knowing that I can still tweak someone's suggestion or tweak someone's idea, or even just questions. Like someone could just ask me questions for more information, more details, saying, I didn't understand this, I didn't understand that. I'm like, oh, let me go make up an explanation for that, because that's really cool, I can do that. Or I've noticed in some of the comments from my friend and from other people that stuff is like out of order. Like I say something and then I explain it later and they're like, oh, good, I'm glad you explained this finally. And I'm like, oh, I could maybe put that explanation sooner in the book. That might help. Or maybe leaving the question in their mind is a good thing because it makes them read the book to try to find the answer. I'm not really sure. But then again, I had a friend that wanted to know the answer to 2 questions. She's like, I thought you were going to resolve these. And I was like, resolve what? And then she told me, I was like, I didn't even think about either one of those things. I didn't even realize that I had made those things important to the reader. I was like, not important to the story. I don't have an explanation for those things. It's just, it is what it is. No explanation for those. I'm like, sorry, not going to go back and fix that or add that. I don't have one. But it was interesting, other people's perspective. So it's good to know, to see other people's perspective and ideas, and it will be interesting to see as I go back through Lanoya and the Teachers of Powers, to see other people's comments, to see what I can change, what I can add, how to improve my book, and then possibly send it out to another set of beta readers. Maybe I'll get a little bit better luck on that one, getting people willing to read it, and getting some feedback. I don't know, because I'm still nervous about the whole idea of just publishing it. I want to be confident enough to just say, okay, I'm publishing it this way, but I want it to be something that people understand. I don't want everybody to be like questioning the details, like, where's this kingdom at? What's going on? I'm like, I don't understand until I'm halfway through the book what's going on with the story. I don't want there to be that much confusion. I want to resolve the confusion along the way. I want to ask the question and then answer the question, and not ask the question and then cause, a whole bunch of other stuff to happen, and then finally answer the question that everybody forgot about, or that, they didn't understand anything in the middle because I left the question unanswered. I don't know. Anyway, I need to look at people's actual feedback. I'm only responding to the verbal feedback that they've given me. I haven't actually gone through and looked at the books, the responses that my friends have put in the books. So I need to actually go back and look at their suggestions in the responses that they sent me, which I can do now that I finished beta reading my friend's book. I can go back and revise Lenoy and the Teachers of Powers. And I don't know if I'm going to spend my whole time on the revisions of that, or if I'm going to continue to split my time between doing a little bit of revisions and a little bit of rewriting The Fall of Espenglanja, so I can get them both ready to be beta read again. And I also need to get feedback from God's Hand in My Life, so I can go back through and reread that and maybe add some more details to that as well, because apparently I'm leaving out details that are important to my story, because I'm just focusing on the conversation and not the surroundings, and people want to know the surroundings to understand the story or the conversation or something. So I'm learning a lot. I'm getting a lot of ideas, and I'm actually very grateful for the ideas. I'm grateful because it helps give me the opportunity to learn, to grow, to become better at writing, so that people will be more interested in my books, so they're more likely to sell, so they can reach more people. Because I have a really good story, but I do a really bad job of telling it, it's not going to reach a whole lot of people. But if I have a really good story and I do a really good job of telling it, then people are going to want to read my story. And that's the goal, is to have something that people want to read that reaches a lot more people. So I want it to be good enough to publish. I think it's almost there. I think I can make a few changes, and depending on the number of changes I have to make to Lenoy and the Teachers of Powers, will determine whether or not I send it out to beta readers a second time, or whether or not I get bold enough to just try to find someone to edit it and just publish it as is. Those are my, so I will probably be working on that this coming week, which I'm looking forward to. And yes, today I was kind of lazy and waited until the end of my day to do my writing again. Not that I had to go to work today because it's Sunday. I don't work on Sundays, but I just put off my writing because I was indecisive, trying to decide what I want to do with The Fall of Espenglanja, trying to figure out what to do. And then oddly, I was just playing my games going, I don't know what to do. I need to write. And then the blurb thing popped into my head, and the thing from Facebook. And so it just made me grateful that I looked on Facebook after I did that blurb, and grateful to have ideas as to how to change it or to write a blurb that's a lot smaller, more precise, because apparently they're only supposed to be like 3 paragraphs long, something that fits in a small space, especially so people can read it all on their screen, because if it's too long, they always have to hit more to read, and not a lot of people will do that if it's like on Amazon or Kindle or something. So you've got to have something that's really concise and really short, but that somehow summarizes the entire book and hooks the reader so that they want to read it. So I'm not really sure I did a very good job of that. I would read it to you, except that I closed my laptop already. And I don't have my laptop. It's on the other side of the room, and I don't want to open it up. And I don't remember off the top of my head what I wrote, because, as I've said before, I don't remember what I write. I remember the concept, the ideas, but I don't remember exactly what I'm writing. So, but I think that's good for me, because it's a way to just process things and let them go. And then they're gone. Then those emotions, those feelings, whatever, they get out of my system, and I'm not holding on to those things. Traumatic experiences in my life, I think, have a lot harder to just get out of my system than just regular everyday things. And like I said, I do remember the ideas, or, maybe the events. I just don't remember the exact words that I used, or the descriptions that I used, or things like that. I think I do the same thing in my life. I'm like, sometimes I don't remember the conversation. Maybe I remember some conversations, but it's the events, the things, the emotions, the feelings. Those are the things that I have a tendency to remember more than the actual things that I wrote. Or I remember that I wrote things and I'm like, oh, I wrote a really good poem for like when my mom's friend passed away, because she was, lived down the street and we were friends with her kids growing up. We kind of all grew up together, and we used to do stuff, have a lot of memories together. I wrote a really nice poem, and my mom sent it to her kids, and they all thanked me for it. And I have no idea what happened to that poem. And like sometimes I think I would like to go back and look at that or see that, but I'm like, it's gone. I don't remember it. Um, and if I don't save it on my computers, I mean, my mom saved it on her computer, but that was way back when they had those big, huge floppy disks. If anybody even remembers what floppy disks are. So I don't even know if that computer even exists or would work at this point in time, let alone anything that was on it. I have no idea where that would be. So, long gone things in my life that I wrote or did growing up. I didn't save them, or they were saved. By someone else, and I don't know what happened to them. They may have just got lost, destroyed, whatever, gone. Gone. Maybe it meant something to someone else, though. Maybe it gets passed on to someone else. I have no idea. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's just, that's kind of my saying. I'm like, I do those things and they just kind of go out and they're gone. So I don't remember what I write, and I don't remember what the point of that was. I think it was because I was talking about the blurbs from the back of my book, and I now have a blurb for Lanoy and the Teachers of Powers, and for the Fall of Espinglanja. But I posted them both on my Anwa website, Facebook page for my writing group, and I'm going to wait and see if I get some better feedback on those, if they're good blurbs or not. And then, like I said, I'll work on doing some revisions this week, which will be good for me. Yay! And now I still just need to write in my journal. I did not do that before my video tonight, which I could have. But I still need to do that and go to bed. So in spite of the fact that I did not work today, I still put off doing everything until the end of the day, and I am still staying up way too late. So I'm not doing a very good job of shifting my schedule to earlier in the day. I need to work on that too. But I am grateful for the day that I had, that I could just kind of relax and not stress about things. Kind of wish I had more time to relax, but I think it just makes me a little bit too lazy. I think I've got too comfortable with being lazy, and that's maybe another reason why I don't want to go to bed or get up in the morning, because it means that I have to change, because I have all of these goals to change my schedule, to change my life, to be more active in pursuing my goals and my dreams and making changes in my life that I think will be beneficial for me and hopefully for those around me, and hopefully being a good example to anyone that's choosing to watch these videos. But change is difficult. It's hard to adjust to the new, to something different. Even if something different is better, sometimes it's still hard to accept it because the old is familiar. And even if the old is bad, it's still familiar. And sometimes it's hard to let go of that. So those old negative things, they just kind of, they're very deep seated, which is why I like learning to change the definition of words or use different words, so that I don't feel so critical of myself, so self-defeating or berating. I don't have to berate myself anymore, because I can find positive, more gentle ways to acknowledge things in my life that are amiss and things that I need to change. Just like in my writing, I could be like, okay, I just need to tweak this a little bit. It's not bad. It's just a little off kilter or out of shape, and just need to do a little adjusting. And I don't have to change my whole world. It doesn't have to be flipped upside down. I don't have to change who I am. I'm not a horrible, bad person. But I can just do a little tweaking and things can get better. Or I can see something from someone else's perspective and I can be like, oh, that's cool. Maybe I'll incorporate that. I like that. Or, you know what, that's cool. I'm glad that works for you, but that just really doesn't work for me. And I'm good just the way things are. And I need to be okay with that. I need to know that I don't have to change who I am to please somebody else, because that never works. And then I don't even know who I am by the time I'm done doing all of those changes. And then I end up going back to just, miserable, complaining, whatever, and nothing changes. So this is different because I am not doing that. I am looking for feedback and suggestions and not berating myself or criticizing myself. I'm looking at things as opportunities to learn and to grow and to be grateful for the help that other people are offering me, and accepting that help and reaching out and asking for help because I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm grateful for the help and the support that I'm receiving. And I'm hoping as I learn to do this, I can share this with other people. And then I can give back in that way by sharing what I'm learning with other people. And then you can share it with other people as well. So it kind of has that ripple effect of everyone helping everyone. And I like that idea so much better than berating myself for not being perfect or not knowing what I'm doing. And I like asking for help and getting responses back way better than either trying to just do it on my own and assuming it's good enough, or beating myself up because it didn't work, because I didn't get the help that I needed because I didn't ask for it. So I'm grateful that it's there in my life. I'm grateful that I can see that help. I'm grateful that God's just kind of guided me there and put the people that I need in my life to help me. And I'm grateful that I can still find things to be grateful for and learn things from my writing. And I will continue to try to do that and continue to try to share what I'm learning. And hopefully this is helpful to those that are watching as well. So if you like, hit like, subscribe, share with someone if you think it'll help them. And I hope you have a great day full of gratitude and writing.